Glad you could make the time for us. This is Health and Lifestyle. My name is Marie Yambo. At KBC Channel 1 on X and KBC Channel 1 TV on Facebook is where to interact with us. Now, 1 in 3 Kenyans has tuberculosis, according to the 2024 National Tuberculosis Status Report. 124,000 Kenyans get infected with TB each year, with 23,000 deaths. Globally, an estimated 10.8 million people fell ill with TB worldwide, with 1.25 million people dying from the disease in 2023, according to the World Health Organization. Males are more affected by tuberculosis than females in almost every age group. Coming up in this program,
I went through the TB disease and I got cured.
From caregiver to patient, Naomi Wanjiru's unexpected battle with TB.
You can see the score is 84. 84 means the image is abnormal, it has an abnormality.
What does a TB screening involve?
The risk factors in this country, in the Kenyan context, is people living with HIV.
Who is at risk of TB? To our first segment, as a dedicated nurse and TB advocate, Naomi Wanjiru was no stranger to the challenges of the healthcare system, but never did she imagine becoming a patient herself. What initially seemed like an unrelenting back pain turned into a long and arduous battle with TB disease. Stay with us as we hear more about her journey and her mission to help others affected by TB. Take a look. World TB Day is observed every 24th March, bringing together health sector stakeholders to raise awareness about tuberculosis. Naomi Wanjiru, a dedicated nurse and TB champion, has her own personal story with the disease.
By being a TB champion means I went through the TB disease and I got cured. I decided to be a TB champion, to lead others and to protect others so that they cannot go through what I went through.
But how does a healthcare worker contract TB?
And I was attending to my TB clients. I tend to believe that there is where I got TB because I was getting so many clients coming and I did not have any protective gear to protect myself. And then there is this mentality of saying, I am a healthcare worker, cannot get TB. It is you, the TB disease, it's for you, not from us. That is how I believe I came to get TB.
Tuberculosis is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis, a slow-growing bacteria that thrives in areas of the body rich in blood and oxygen, such as the lungs. It spreads through airborne droplets released when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or has close prolonged contact. The most common form is pulmonary TB, affecting the lungs, and symptoms often include a persistent cough lasting more than 2 weeks, blood in sputum, chest pain, and loss of appetite. Naomi, however, did not present these common signs, which led her to be tested for other conditions before TB was considered.
It took so long before a diagnosis was done because nobody was really catching was really getting the point of going for a diagnosis for TB. And I was really having a lot of pain in my back. I did not lose the weight, a signs of symptom of TB, but I was having fevers and night sweats. These were really bothering me. And at the same time, I was using painkillers, one to reduce my back pain and secondly to reduce the fevers. But imagine I'm still working in TB clinic, but it did not occur to me that I could be having TB.
It was a visit to the radiologist that prompted further investigation.
When I was in a meeting, when I stood up, I fell. So I went for an X-ray. When I was changing so that the radiographer can have an X-ray of my back, he came and whispered to me, "Could you be having TB of the spine?" Wow, that was a game changer, let me say, because those words is the words that I took and I went to my doctor and told him, could I be having TB of the spine? And the doctor told me, yes, you could be having it. But I suspected it, but I was afraid to tell you that you could be having TB because you are a healthcare worker, you understand the TB disease, the stigma associated with TB.
And the results confirmed her diagnosis.
I got TB of the spine, a disease that almost shattered my life. So it is not a joke having TB. You can have TB. TB can get any part of the body apart from the hair and the nails.
The road to recovery was not easy.
I was a bedridden person a whole year, doing nothing. People were carrying me. People were doing everything for me. In fact, it reached a point where I was using Pampers because there was no one to take care of me, and sometimes I really feel I need to go to the toilet. No one is around. It was a terrible time. My sisters had organized every week someone to come and take care, wash me, change me. Every weekend they would come on Friday evening, Saturday, and then they left on Sunday. But I used to have a few friends who were walking in and helping.
TB treatment in the country is free. Naomi was initially treated for drug-sensitive TB for 2 years. However, despite following her medication regimen, the back pain persisted. TB had damaged the lower bones in her spine. With support from family and friends, Naomi raised 1.2 million shillings to seek treatment in India, where doctors made another critical discovery.
You know, when I went to India, I did not go to India for TB treatment. I went to India because my bones were completely spoiled, so I needed a surgery. They treated me, they did the operation, and they took a sample from my back. They took it for culture and sensitivity, and it came back that I have multi-drug resistant TB. So I started again afresh now to take the drugs for resistant TB.
Multi-drug resistant TB, MDR, is caused by bacteria that are resistant to 2 or more of the main TB medicines, isoniazid and rifampin. But it wasn't just the physical challenges Naomi faced. She also had to contend with the stigma surrounding TB.
Let me tell you, what really ate me up is stigma. Stigma. You know, now if you get TB, you'll know your friends. Some of them will not come near to you because they will be afraid you will infect them. So people are like, hey, they will come visit you even in your house, but they will not come nearer to you. So, and also our families are affected. Like for me being a healthcare worker, sometimes when I attend to my clients, and the first thing they tell me, and I hear you had TB, are you sure you got cured? So they are still coming with the mentality, you are also a risk to them. My son was not allowed to play with other kids. He was being told, get out, your mother has TB, you will bring the TB to us. Where was that coming from? The parents maybe discussed and warned their children, don't play with Naomi's child because she has TB. Stigma is what eats us up. And that is why people even don't come to the facility.
Naomi explains that the stigma was particularly difficult to bear, not only within the community, but also among health workers.
In fact, when it was time for me being injected, nobody came to inject me. They were giving me excuses. Hey, I will come. Hey, why didn't you? Until I decided I will not call anybody else again to come in and inject me. I did the injection myself. The 60 drugs. That decide. Today I would inject here, tomorrow I would inject it. Until 60 injectables got finished.
The health workers
yes, you know, maybe they were afraid this is our colleague, or maybe they are like, hey, when we go nearer to her every day we will get TB. And then I was living in a small house. Maybe they were like, I really don't know what happened, but I really saw stigma, first-hand stigma.
As an advocate and TB champion, Naomi's message is clear. Awareness, understanding, and compassion are essential in the fight against TB.
So I can attest that you can get TB and be cured. But the basic is early diagnosis. Had the TB had been picked earlier, I believe I wouldn't have gone the whole process of becoming bedridden, going to India. No.
Naomi has indeed become a powerful advocate, sharing her story to raise awareness about TB. Screening is a crucial step in the early detection and prevention of TB, as it helps identify individuals who may be infected even before symptoms appear, allowing for timely treatment and reducing the risk of transmission. During the World TB Day, the Ministry of Health organized a free TB screening.
This is an X-ray machine, but I can say it's a portable machine which can be carried around for outreaches. When we screen patients, our machine is artificial intelligence enabled, so it can rate an image according to how it is. If the image is abnormal, the score goes up, as it's between 1 and 100. So any score between 40 and 100, we take an action. That is, we send a patient to lab for screening for gene experts and further evaluation by the radiologist. This is the positioning area. So when we are doing a chest X-ray, we are saying posterior anterior from the back to the front. So that's why the patient goes like this. And then this is where the X-rays comes from to the target, the patient. And from here, the image is reflected on a laptop at the other side. This image here is a normal image, and you can see the score is 7.16. So according to our AI here, this image is normal. We can check another image like this image here. You can see the score is 84. 84 means the image is abnormal, it has an abnormality, but the issue here, it is not specific. When you color code, you can see it's abnormal, there is something happening here, but this here is normal. So to be specific, we send this patient for gene expert testing. At the same time, the image is taken to a radiologist's office to be interpreted. For a normal image, you'll not see these colors here. I can show you a normal image, how it looks like. So this is a normal image, according to our AI system here. It's a normal image. So because it is a screening, we are screening patients, so when it is normal, just release the patient, that's all. Yeah.
When the patient comes here with the abnormal image, with around 70%, they are being sent here, requesting for us to collect sample for the gene expert. So we'll explain to the patient how they are supposed to collect the samples on this tube. So we explain to the patient how they are supposed to collect this sputum. After collecting the sample, well labeled with the requisition form, so we put the sample in the cool box for the shipment to the testing lab. Patients also receive their result through the text message.
Indeed, as they say, prevention is better than cure. It could be a time to just go for that screening. You just never know. Well, on that note, we take a break, but we'll be back with more, including a TB researcher lays bare the burden of TB in Kenya, and on good practice, how to protect yourself from TB. Thank you for staying with us. Iban Rono is a key player in the National TB Program, where he coordinates policy planning, evaluation, research, and monitors the progress of TB control efforts across the country. He starts by providing an overview of the current TB situation in the country.
So Kenya happens to be one of the high-burdened countries for TB. That means we have a sizable population actually suffering from TB or infected by TB. So before 2017, the number of people infected with TB were over 160,000. The ones that come or become sick every year with TB. So a lot of interventions have been done, like finding these people first of all, putting them on treatment. As you've had in our discussions, treatment is important. And then of course trying to do prevention by ensuring that people are living in good conditions, and then we provide also treatment for prevention. We used to have what I would call inferior tests in the past for testing tuberculosis. Probably you could take not months, a few days. You give out your specimen and then you are told probably come tomorrow or the next day for that. That was probably microscopy. Of course, microscopy also improved. We used to have light microscope that I'm sure you must have seen in school biology class, and then we also improved that to an FM microscope, which uses much more technology for improvement. And then in the recent past, we have new technologies, as you have said, what you're calling rapid diagnosis. That means you can be able to get your results almost immediately. So they came the gene expert, and then now we have TrueNut. That is laboratory tests that are done to be able to give you a test for TB within hours. Now, when you talk about artificial intelligence, we're using it as a screening tool, more or less, because it is still something that is out there. So you can also diagnose or screen for TB using X-ray. You look at how the lungs look like, and then an healthcare worker will be able to determine this is a chest X-ray for TB. Some of them have not been very sensitive, but I think for training machines, because AI is actually training a machine to give you a certain answer, over time they would be able to pick your X-ray and then use artificial intelligence to actually assist you in eventually diagnosing tuberculosis. Multi-drug resistant TB is resistant to all the first-line medicine that any of the 4 molecules that we use to treat TB. And initially, it used to be a product of being treated for first-line TB. But over time, we have also realized that there are new patients who acquire multi-drug resistant TB for the first time. Because, of course, it can be spread like, it's infectious like any other TB. So it's basically you are not, if you have a multi-drug resistant TB, you are not responding to first-line treatment. So you need another layer of medication called second-line treatment, which is a number of medicine that takes longer probably and much more complicated to treat. So it's as a result of one, either you came in contact with another person who had a resistant TB, so you acquire it, or what we have been advocating against, misuse of antibiotics for a long time. So that's why we say people need to go to medical facilities to treat themselves rather than over-the-counter medication.
Why men? You've just mentioned that men are more susceptible to TB infection, but why men?
Naturally, men, we tend to be risk takers. We tend to be more taking risks. If you look at the number of smokers, mostly men will be smoking. If you look at people who drink, it will be most likely men. I'm not saying ladies or women don't drink, but if you look at that, we normally go to most social places. We go to drinking dens, changa dens, and also go to maybe football pitches and so forth. So we tend to be exposed to most of these things. Even if you look at the works that we do, like mining areas, sand harvesting, if you look at things like mining, for example, you will see that it's mostly men who do those particular jobs. So they tend to be exposed to most of these things that are there. And then number two, men, as I said, have a poor health-seeking behavior in that regard. So they tend to be sick more because they do not seek help.
You've mentioned some of the risk factors, including cigarette smoking and even alcohol intake. What are other factors that can actually lead to TB infection? What are the risk factors, that is?
So if you remember my presentation, the biggest drivers or risk factors in this country, in the Kenyan context, is people living with HIV, because we have a quite proportion with HIV, around 1.4 million people living with HIV. So the population is vulnerable to tuberculosis. We also seem to be having a growth in terms of non-communicable diseases, lifestyle diseases like diabetes. So those tend to compromise your immunity, so you get prone to tuberculosis. In Kenya, again, nutrition. I know we talk about food security vis-a-vis. So there could be food, but there are people who are not getting the right kind of food. So people become malnourished because of other things. So we say TB is largely a lung disease, largely, but I'm not saying that it doesn't affect other areas. If you look at our data, majority of our patients are what we call pulmonary. So that means it affects the lungs. But then there are other areas that affects also TB, like I think in the case you're talking about, could be the TB of the spine that affects your backbone. It can also affect other areas like your lymph nodes, your eyes, and the bones.
From early detection and treatment, we dive into some of the most impactful good practices in TB control. If someone has active TB, they should stay home and away from others, especially during the first few weeks of treatment, to prevent the spread of the disease. Regularly wash your hands, cover your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing. Open windows and doors to allow for proper air circulation, as TB germs spread more easily in poorly ventilated spaces. If you are in close contact with someone who has active TB, consider wearing a mask to protect yourself. If you have active TB, it's crucial to take all medications as prescribed by your doctor to ensure a successful treatment outcome. But even if you start to feel better, it's essential to complete the full course of medication to prevent the development of drug-resistant TB. If you suspect you have TB or have been in contact with someone who has it, seek medical advice promptly for diagnosis and treatment. We've come to the end of the program, and as always, thank you for participating, and also thank you to our guests, Iban Rono and also Naomi Wanjiru, for sharing her story as a health provider turned patient. On behalf of everyone, the production team, we say thank you for your time, and we hope to see you again next time. In case you've missed any part of this program, as always, the YouTube channel is up for you to be able to scroll through.